The possum is one of the most common marsupials in Australia. Possums are nocturnal animals that can navigate tall trees with surprising agility and aplomb. Sometimes living side by side with humans, possums can be seen or even heard scurrying around on roofs or decks at night. The words possums and opossums are sometimes used interchangeably, but they actually mean different things. Opossum refers specifically to the American opossums. Possum, on the other hand, refers to the Australian variety with the scientific name of Phalangeriformes. They belong to different orders but are both examples of marsupials. The marsupial is an ancient lineage of mammals that split off from placental mammals over 100 million years ago. Modern possums, kangaroos, and koalas probably evolved from a common ancestor that lived some 20 to 30 million years ago. Males and females are known as jacks and jills, respectively, while a group is called a passel. In Australia and some of the nearby islands, the spread of towns and cities has made encounters much more common. Sometimes considered to be a pest, possums like to hide in dark areas such as attics, sheds, and garages, causing damage and destruction to gardens, farms, forests, and equipment. They represent almost no danger to humans on their own, but they can spread diseases by piercing the skin with their sharp claws. If you encounter one in or near your residence, then it is a good idea to avoid contact and let professionals remove them in a humane manner. Possums are animals that vary as much in their behavior as they do in their physical characteristics. The brush-tail possums are nocturnal and solitary creatures that only come together for the breeding season. As the most terrestrial and earthbound of all possums, they can live near human homes and gardens. The ring-tail possums, on the other hand, are highly social creatures that inhabit communal nests known as drays. These groups usually consist of the male and female breeding pair and the offspring. The aforementioned gliders, including the well-known squirrel glider and sugar glider, have flaps between their limbs to glide between tree branches and the ground below. One species has been observed to travel as much as 65 feet at once. Possums are fairly docile, omnivorous animals that only act aggressively when threatened. Some of their defensive behavior includes playing dead, growling, baring their teeth, or secreting a bad odor. When they aren't hunting, possums spend most of the time grooming or sleeping. Possums communicate with each other, and with potential threats, through both sound and smell. Their suite of alarm calls, mating calls, and location calls include screeches, hisses, clicks, grunts, and howls. They also have scent glands on their chest to mark territory. The possum is native to the forests of Australia and the surrounding islands of Tasmania, New Guinea, Celebes, and the Solomons. Their most common habitats include rainforests, eucalypt forests, woodlands, coastal shrublands, and even human neighborhoods. The only thing they need is a relatively dense network of trees in which to reside for protection and food. Possums have evolved to favor an omnivore diet that includes insects, eggs, and a variety of different plant matter, some of which is poisonous to other animals. If given the opportunity, they will also scavenge on food left over by other animals and people. The exact dietary composition varies based on the availability of food from one location to another, so they can best be described as opportunistic. Some possum species have an enlarged cecum, a pouch in the intestines, to ferment and digest the highly fiber-based foods of their diet. The molar teeth have sharp tips to help them chew through the hard plant matter. Possums are commonly preyed upon by snakes, cats, dogs, foxes, owls, tiger quolls, and other large predators. Tiger quolls and snakes are endemic to Australia, but many other species were introduced by European settlers and have driven numbers down. Possums have been hunted by humans for their fur, but the biggest threat to their existence is the destruction habitat from both fires and human activity. As was demonstrated by the destructive nature of the 2019 to 2020 bushfires, these incidences are greatly exacerbated by climate change. Reproduction varies from monogamy, a single mate, to polygamy, multiple mates, and almost everything in between. Only the mountain brush-tail possum has the ability to change its mating system on a whim based on how much food is available in the environment. Males court females with their loud calls and may sire several groups of young throughout the entire mating season. Once the pair copulates, the female produces 1 or 2, rarely 3, viable offspring, typically around the middle months of the year. Some species produce up to 10 offspring, but most of the babies quickly die off, leaving only a few behind. To maximize the chances of survival, the mother finds a comfortable hiding place in tree hollows or abandoned bird nests to carry her young. Only a few species actually construct nests from scratch. As with many other types of animals, the mother is responsible for the majority of parenting duties, while the fathers contribute almost nothing to their survival. The common ring-tail possum is the only species in which the male also takes a prominent role in caring for the young. The gestation period is usually quite short. Among the brush-tail possums, it lasts only for 16 or 17 days. The young joeys, as they're called, crawl from the birth canal into the mother's pouch for the purpose of feeding on her milk. At this stage, they are still blind and deaf and only measure a few centimeters large. The joeys are so dependent on the mother that their lips will actually fuse shut around the nipple to prevent it from losing contact for the first several weeks of life. Even as it becomes more independent, the joey will stay within the mother's pouch for protection and security during the next few months. Once it finally becomes too big for the pouch, it will sometimes migrate to the mother's back. The possum usually reaches sexual maturity within the first year or two of life. Many fall victim to predators and diseases before they can die of natural causes, so the lifespan of some species is usually no more than 10 or 15 years in the wild. They can live even longer in captivity where it's safe from most threats. Population numbers are difficult to estimate, but the conservation status can vary quite drastically by species. According to the IUCN Red List, which is an independent organization that tracks the conservation status of many animals, possums can range between least concern and critically endangered. The brush-tail possum, which is widespread throughout the coastal regions of Australia, has integrated so well into human society that it is a common sight. On the other end of the spectrum, the western ring-tail possum and the fairy possum are both critically endangered. Many species are currently afforded protection by the Government of Australia. It is illegal to hunt, trap, or kill many of the possums for any reason. Nevertheless, it is estimated that a quarter of Australia's 27 possum species are currently threatened with extinction. The San Diego Zoo, which is one of the few zoos in the United States that has Australian possums of any kind, has a long history with the eastern common ring-tail possums. The original 3 members, a male and 2 females, were brought to the zoo back in 1984. After several years without any possums, the zoo received more from the Healesville Sanctuary in Victoria, Australia, but they are not always on exhibit.